given us one of the most vivid prophecies, and I believe it has to do with exactly with this day.
I think you have to insist that you actually dismantle the components that allow Iran to produce an arsenal of nuclear weapons. If you don't, and you do nothing, then I predict that what you'll do is head right into a wall. You'd head into a terrible conflict and perhaps a terrible war in which Iran would be armed with nuclear weapons. That's bad. If you want peace.
Well, it sounds like you're suggesting that that's the only course anyway. The way you outline the threat and the intentions of Iran, it seems as though you are indicating that you are on the precipice of war with this nation, because that's the only way that you'd be able to guarantee that you smash all of their capabilities and stop all of their evil outreach in the surrounding region, as you describe it. Is that what you mean? Are you prepared to go to war against Iran?
My name is Javad Zarif, and I'm the Iranian Foreign Minister. Let me make it absolutely clear once and for all. We will neither outsource our security, nor will we renegotiate or add on to a deal we have already implemented in good faith. To put it in real estate terms, when you buy a house and move your family in, or demolish it to build a skyscraper, you cannot come back 2 years later and try to renegotiate the price. In the coming days, the United States will have to decide whether to finally abide by its obligations. Iran stands firm in the face of futile attempts at bullying. But if the US continues to violate the agreement, or if it withdraws altogether, we will exercise our right to respond in a manner of our choosing. Bluster or threats won't get the US a new deal, particularly as it is not honoring the deal it has already made. Relying on cartoonish allegations, rehashed from more than a decade ago and dealt with by the IAEA, to make a case for nixing the deal has fooled no one. Thus, the US is well advised to finally start honoring its commitments, or it, and only it, will have to accept responsibility for the consequences of not doing so. President Trump is unhappy with the deal. And it now appears that the response from some Europeans has been to offer the United States more concessions from our pocket. This appeasement entails promises of a new deal that would include matters we all decided to exclude at the outset of our negotiations, including Iran's defensive capabilities and regional influence. But please understand, on both issues, it is Iran and not the West that has serious grievances and much to demand. We have not attacked anyone in centuries, but we have been invaded. Most recently by Saddam Hussein, who was then backed by the US and its regional allies. The West even actively prevented us from buying rudimentary means of defense, even as Saddam Hussein showered both Iranian civilians and soldiers with chemical weapons.
What we have here is a situation where the United States government enabled Iraq almost to conquer Iran by providing Iraq with satellite photography and turning a blind eye to its use of chemical weapons, including sarin gas. What happened here is that Iran was about to win the war, and the satellite photography showed that there was a hole in the Iraqi lines, and so we told the Iraqis where the hole was. What the Iranians were preparing to do: enter sarin gas, and tens of thousands of Iranian troops were killed. Now, in the broader context, if I were an Iranian and I just heard that the duly elected government in 53 had been deposed by the CIA in 53, and then I saw in 87 that we Iranians were just about to win the war when this happened, you know, I would feel really, really strongly that we have real grievances against the United States. And the reason I mention that now is because we have a new government in Iran, and it's going to be very hard for them to tamp down this hatred, you know, this resentment, when you have the Revolutionary Guards and all those other people saying, how can you trust the Americans? You know, in 53, they overthrew our government. 87, they prevented us from winning the war against Iraq.
Despite that haunting experience, we still spend a fraction of countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates on defense. And our missiles have a shorter range than those of Saudi Arabia. And unlike US allies in the region who have brainwashed, financed, and armed groups such as Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and the ISIS, For the first 2 years in my post, I spent much of my time negotiating with my counterparts from the European Union, Russia, China, Germany, France, United Kingdom, and the United States. We reached a comprehensive agreement on Iran's nuclear program in 2015. We called it JCPOA, or Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. In the deal, my country agreed to take certain concrete steps to assuage the concerns of the United States primarily. The US in turn committed to remove sanctions and to cease impeding business with Iran. The deal was not a treaty to require signature or ratification by any side, but it became binding on all as it was unanimously adopted by the United Nations Security Council. On 11 occasions since, the UN nuclear watchdog has confirmed that Iran has implemented all its obligations. In contrast, the US has consistently violated the agreement. Let me make it absolutely clear once and for all. We will neither outsource our security, nor will we renegotiate or add on to a deal we have already implemented in good faith.
It's given us one of the most vivid prophecies, and I believe it has to do exactly with this day.